What's going on, people? What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of No Clue, y'all. It's another week. How everybody doing? Can y'all believe 2021 is almost gone?
It went too fast.
Way too fast. Like, we was all geeked up. Can't wait for 2021 to get out of 2020. And we jumped out the skillet into the doggone fire. I'm scared for 2022. Dinosaurs may come back. You never know.
I'm not
zombie
scared,
apocalypse.
I'm not scared of lions and tigers and bears.
But I'm scared. All right, before we get started, y'all see we got a special guest with us. I don't know who this person is, lies, but I'm gonna let my girl Terry introduce her before we do what we normally do. So Terry, what's up? Who this woman? Hop on, who this here woman?
Hey y'all. All right, so our guest tonight is none other than my sister from the greatest sorority, Apple Pie Delta Sorority Incorporated. Our newest sister, our number 7. May, what we call her on our side in Apple Land, we call her Poet.
Hi everyone. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Ami. In my day job, I am education and training manager for a diversity, equity, and inclusion firm. I do a lot of social justice work. I sit on a couple of nonprofit boards. I'm everywhere. I do everything, and I'm just super excited to be part of this conversation.
Well, welcome. Poet. Okay, we're gonna talk about that on the later show.
Poetic justice.
That's my thing. You know, I like to do the black thing. You know what I'm saying? All right. Well, welcome to the show, Ami. Everybody, how was y'all weeks? Let's talk about these weeks real quick.
Work as usual.
Okay. Got it. Work as usual. Okay.
Christmas is next week, so we got to put in these extra coins.
All of them.
I got 3 Rugrats. Well, no, I got 4 Rugrats, but 3 on my claim on my taxes.
I know that.
So who's the 4th?
Well, my husband I can't claim.
What you not gonna do is do my brother. My brother. DJ, how was your weekend?
My weekend's been crazy. So work is always crazy. Fraternity stuff is always crazy. Glad to be back. I missed y'all last week, but you know your boy was holding it down, doing his thing for World AIDS Day. So it is what it is. Yeah. So that's where I am, trying to finish these last couple of things for school so I can get this 1 week off, and I need it. But you know, amen.
He put an emphasis.
1.
Poet, how was your week?
My week has actually been interesting. I finished my first semester of my BSW program. Work has been interesting. I had about 15 hours worth of trainings I did last week, and whew. But if and not if you all are the praying type, send one up for my mom. She's in the hospital, so I've been managing all life things and life's been lifing. Life's
Yep.
been life.
Life's been
Mhm.
lifing.
All
I'm
right.
getting that on the shirt. Life's been
And I can make
lifing.
that shirt for you if you would like me to. That's one of the things that I do. So
Bet we will be in touch.
okay.
So y'all, my week has been freaking amazing. I went home, got to go to the ATL to see my fam. Got to bring in a new brother into my organization. Shout out to the Beast, Rise of the Phoenix in Atlanta, Georgia. Calvin, what's going on, brother? So his reveal was amazing. I got to spend time with the greatest sororities sisters in the world, the lovely ladies of Phi Nu Kappa Sorority Incorporated.
So we're gonna do that.
I was gonna say we're gonna start that early in this. I beg to differ.
But the highlight of my weekend was I got to go to breakfast with my family and spend time with my godson, who has 3 teeth, and he let me know that he has 3 teeth. He bit me right here, and right here.
Gave you all the hugs and kisses.
I had so much fun with him, like just seeing him, talking to him. He says hi, and then he says a lot of other stuff that I have yet to understand yet. But he was talking. I think he was telling me about myself, and then he would just stare at me, and I felt like, this was my grandmother's birthday weekend. This weekend, Sunday was my grandmother's birthday. I had to preach, and somebody got behind me and told me my grandma was dead. And I lost it. Like, when I say lost it. Somehow I came out my shoes. Me and SpongeBob was having a whole dance showdown in the pulpit. Do you hear me? But I had a great time. I'm just looking forward to this weekend and next weekend because I'll be with my baby for his first Christmas.
No.
Okay. I'm excited. And I did not get him a drum set because his mama said I can't get him a drum set.
You can't.
Yet. But I will.
In St. Louis. Moving along.
Whatever. Moving right along. It is time for y'all. Y'all know what we're going to get into. It's time for Say What?
Say what?
All right. So Say What tonight is going to be a little touchy. So how many of you guys have read the story about his name is Ray J or Raji Black up in Baltimore? Over the weekend, he actually killed his ex-wife and his girlfriend who was pregnant with their baby, and then killed himself with the kids in the car. How many of you guys read that story, heard about that story?
Unfortunately.
What's your thoughts on it?
I have such a hard time with it because, we always talk about, you can't love someone else until you love yourself. And that's a whole thing. But I feel like this is the perfect example of if I can't have you, nobody else can.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel very strongly events like that don't happen in a vacuum. So somebody knew something. And I think we get stuck in this idea of, well, I can love them through this. So I have a lot of sympathy for the girlfriend's family, the ex-wife's family. It's hard. And how do you explain that to kids? And what happens to the kids who were in the car who had to witness this? Like, it's a horrible situation.
So just a little of the backstory was he was at home with the girlfriend. They were talking about the baby. She mentioned, I think, that she didn't want to be with him anymore and that she wanted child support. And so that triggered him because he was already going through a 3-year custody battle with his ex-wife. And he shot her in the head. And then he left, went to the ex-wife's apartment, got on Facebook Live outside of her apartment. And it just so happened she walked out of the door as he was on live. And he chased her back in and killed her there. And then he turned the gun on himself in the apartment. Now, the kids did not see him kill himself, but they were in the car. So he had been going through a 3-year custody battle with the ex-wife. She had been putting in reports that he had been raping the children, and he lost his job with the hospital that he was working at. both of the women were nurses at a hospital or anesthesiologist nurses or something like that. Like he was very, very damaged. And because of what he said in his live, because of what the ex-wife did, everybody had to get it. And he said he wasn't going to prison. So he was like, I'm going to kill myself too, but I'm going to get her first. PJ, Doc, thoughts, feelings? Y'all are men. So how does that, affect you? How does that affect you guys, being that a man did this? It
I mean, it's a twofold thing, right? And I think the first thing is that Black male emotionality is underrepresented and underappreciated, right? So, and that goes back into that whole social conditioning about us being conditioned early on that we don't get to feel, we don't get to showcase our emotions, we don't get to be vulnerable, and then when we do, it's those instances of being judged or being these extreme cases. The other part to that is Black mental health matters, and I think that ties back into that whole thing about Black male emotionality because that's obviously some triggers and some signs and some concerns that something else is going on for that to be that extreme from a level of rejection. And we know that rejection runs deep. I get it, through an emotional perspective and through a psychological perspective, but there's also some mental health issues that need to be there. So my takeaway is Black male emotions matter and Black mental health matters.
Why didn't I go first? Because like DJ is like a medical doctor. He be using these terms that the medulla oblongata, forsythia of the cortex.
He did not use big words,
but he just sounds so profound. I feel like I was in a seminar class in college, and he just so real when he speaks. It's like talking to Barack Obama.
Whatever.
For me, there it says there was some hurt, there was some damage, there was some open wounds that had not fully healed. There was some things that was pushed under the rug, and in our community, I'll go deeper. In the African American male community, we're often told that we're not supposed to emote, that we're just supposed to, men don't cry, men don't show emotion, and all that was pushed underneath the rug. And it's like a volcano, and I'm sure there was other things that has come from his childhood that he's smoldered and just held on and pushed down and pushed down and pushed down, and it's like a volcano. At some point, it's gonna reach its boiling point, and it's gonna erupt. And with all eruptions, sometimes it's a light eruption where it just spews out a little bit. Sometimes it's a little, violent, and then sometimes you have those life-changing eruptions like Pompeii. And I think this was one of those type of situations where he just reached his breaking point, and what he was trying to heal from with the ex-wife, with the girlfriend kicking it off, he was just like, at this point, let me get rid of what's hurting me. And then once he got rid of what hurt him, he realized that, did my brother just lick his tongue at us? He did. That's why your wife said you her fourth child. But when he reached that point, he realized the actions of the repercussions of what he's done, and he took his own life. While the children may not have seen it, I'm sure they heard it, and then there's going to be question as to where's mommy, where's daddy, and my prayers go out to both families. Like Ami said, my prayers go out to both families, but my prayers go out to the person who has to explain to the children what happened.
And that's what they're trying to figure out. They're trying to figure out how can they explain this to these kids about what happened, because one of the neighbors actually is who heard the gunshots. And so that's who called the cops, and just so happened that they go outside and see these kids sitting in the car.
So here's my concern with that. While we're talking about how are they going to tell the kids, social media is a beast.
It is.
And who's to say they have not already been given this information?
Well, see, I didn't know the age of the kid.
Already seen that. But even still, kids are very tech savvy these days. And so even from a very minute age and the way that we moving and seeing things moving to a more technological, digitally savvy environment, kids can navigate social media better than they can type and write their name.
Absolutely.
So, who's to say that they haven't come across this already or are in process of coming across it? Or who's to say it's not an asshole that's going to put it into them to do something nasty? Cyberbullying is real.
Absolutely.
And that's what my fear go out to, because I'm hoping that somebody in their families or someone attached to them will put those kids in therapy. Because while they may say, oh, they're kids, they don't understand, or they're kids, they'll forget about it. Those things sit in the back of your mind, and little things can trigger that to come back, and you start having nightmares, and you're like, why am I having this reoccurring dream? And it's not real. It's not a dream. It's your subconscious bringing to forelight that which you have pressed down and hidden for so long.
So, related but unrelated, have you seen the Netflix movie The Unforgiven or The Unforgivable with Sandra Bullock?
I tried.
It ties very closely to what Doc just said. That idea of things that you really too young to understand, but that come back to haunt you. That's one of the underlying themes of that. Like, I need everyone to watch that so we can have conversations about it.
How's she a guest giving us homework?
It starts out really good because she was in prison and she came out, and she everything is triggering her mind to come back to everything that happened to her as a kid, and it's kind of she's reliving everything that she's trying to block out.
But I mean, trauma is real. And not just initial trauma. There's vicarious trauma. There's secondary trauma. It's post-vicarious trauma. There are multiple layers and multiple facets to it, and that's what I mean about we have those direct instances of trauma from them being in the car and literally being that close to what's happening. We're gonna have the vicarious trauma through everybody else, and it's gonna be secondary trauma from everybody else constantly retelling this, constantly recurring, constantly posting on social media. And I think about stuff like that all the time. Like, what happens when they do mature and they grow and they move forward. And this team is still looping around because nothing is ever gone once you put it on social media.
It's not.
Ever.
It's never gone.
What people are doing to the dad's video, because it's still on social media, what they're doing is they're revamping it and adding to it, and so it's being recycled. Like, so I think these kids are gonna run across that video eventually.
And that's gonna open that's gonna open questions that I hope again they get a licensed therapist to answer, because I love Big Mama, I love Grandmama, but Grandmama prayer ain't always gonna help. Sometimes you need to go talk to the people God has given the wisdom to. Laying on the couch, FaceTime the therapist. You need somebody to talk to help them kids get through that, because my fears. How kids are rude and disrespectful. You ain't gonna be nothing just like your daddy who killed your mama. Now that child could pop and snap, and now you have another situation like all these kids taking guns to school at this point. You don't know what these kids been through. What was that movie? It was a TV series about the girl who committed suicide.
13 Reasons Why.
13 Reasons. Okay, so if you watch that show was really intense. All right, let's start there. It's really intense. But there's one episode where the little boy goes to shoot up the school. I am not an advocate for that. I am not a person who say that's the route you should go. But watching his story, it helped me to understand what pushed him to that point. Because he was reaching out for help, but nobody wanted to help him. They was telling him to get over it or grow up. I don't want things like that to happen to these kids, because that's when they could reach that point of just going completely off the radar like that. But all right, Arteria, you came on with a deep one. Jesus Christ. I guess last week we had too much fun without DJ.
We've been having a lot of fun. Say what topics. I wanted to bring one a little serious.
You did that. All right, guys. Well, keeping in this same vein, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about getting over heartbreak. What a nice way to segue into this. So put on your big boy underwear, your big girl underwear. Grab a cup of water, because we want to have sober minds when we have this conversation. And let's get ready to talk. We'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back. If you need a social media manager, contact Ricky Z Media. I promise you, she's our podcast production manager. She's our publicist. She's our HR. She's
Just
our
stick our hand when
everything.
we need it.
Anything you need, she got it. She can get it done for you. And when I say get it done correct, on time, and professional, trust me, one-stop shop. All right, she ain't Walmart. She's like Target. All right, she's upper echelon. All right. So get in touch with her if you want to get in touch with Rakia because you have a show topic, a show idea. You need social media management. Email us nocluetheshow@gmail.com. She checks our emails and she'll be back in touch with you. All right. Shout out to Ricky Z, girl. We love you. Let's talk about getting over heartbreak, damaged hearts. So let me ask this question to start this. Has anybody ever had their heart broken?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay, you had your heart broken. Did it hurt?
Physically, yes. Emotionally, yes. Spiritually, yes. It broke every part of me, and I wasn't sure I was ever going to come back from it.
This is why I love you, because you're setting me up for success. So I was in your shoes, and I actually went to my therapist. Shout out to Sean. Hey Kay, girl, we miss you. I'm so proud of you. Looking forward to Friday. I'm waiting for that good news.
Okay.
Whoa.
Oh, she went from
She's answering the
Hey
question.
Kay.
She's
Let me
answering the
find you,
question.
Peter.
That was part of it too. I wanted to fight everybody, not just the person who hurt me, but anyone who came in contact with me, because what I was not going to do is be hurt again. I was ready to fight.
So let's talk about that. Let's start out before we get into how to get over it. Let's talk about how it made us feel. Because that's one thing we don't do is talk about how it made us feel. So let's talk about that. Anita already told me she ready to fight. She was ready to knock if you book. Like she was ready to throw hands. Now I don't mean holy hands. She wasn't finna pray for nobody.
Oh, I did that first.
Well, at least you pray because I should be. Prayer was last thing. Prayer. I'll preside over your funeral for free. I'll do the eulogy. DJ, how you handle breakup?
It depends.
see.
I mean, it really does. If it's somebody that just was like, like okay, yeah, it's that, then it's not. But well, yeah, I'm gonna say this. Like even with me going through this divorce, like I'm not pressed, I'm not bothered. This is what I wanted, it's what I needed, it's the release that I wanted to have. But I mean, in other instances, yeah, it hurt. Yes, it was, devastating, and I've talked about this and I've alluded to why that was in some of our other conversations, but I mean, I guess it depends on the person. It depends on the duration of that relationship. It depends on, if there was a real connection there. It depends on if I actually love that person. Like, I mean, it's a very multi-layered thing.
You need to be a therapist. Let me tell you why. Because, my therapist, I will ask a question, and it would be a question that I think is the simplest of questions. And when he gets done with my question, I am now contemplating, am I human? There was so much thought put behind that because I'm sitting here like, so let me reform my questions okay, thank you, System and Processes Department. This is what we pay you for. Arteria, I should ask Arteria first because I know what she's gonna say. How do you handle?
No, you don't know what I'm gonna say
Get
because
'em.
when I think about damaged heart, I don't think about it from a relationship aspect of it because I feel like in a relationship, people are here for a season. So if you're here with me, you're supposed to be here with me for all 4 seasons, then that's cool. I'm thinking about a damaged heart more so on the family side of aspect. So that's where I've been hurt at. Family aspect of it, not relationship side.
So, okay, we're gonna talk this. I think right. See,
Get 'em.
What we're not gonna do is have the threesome of the System and Processes Departments. DJ done recruited 2 more people to the
Get 'em.
System and Processes Department. Y'all not finna gang up on me. I will get our production manager on y'all.
Hey,
Shout out to
Hey,
Shavay.
I'll get Kay on y'all. Kay will join in with me. So when I went to therapy, I was talking to my therapist about heartbreak. The first thing he said was, you got to allow yourself to feel your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Break that down to me. What does that mean to y'all? Before I tell y'all what he said. But what does that mean to y'all? Allow yourself to feel your feelings.
Your feelings are valid, even if they aren't true. Because if you try to make something lesser than what it is, you don't get to experience it. You don't get to move past it because you get stuck in what you think you're supposed to do. So even if that feeling isn't true, it's real for you. So you have to feel all those feelings every time, the good ones and the bad ones. Like you can't just repress the happy memories. You can't just focus on the happy times. Like you have to let everything just exist before you can move past everything. Because if you don't acknowledge it, it's not real.
Okay. Thierry, DJ.
I think for me, it took me a while to make that statement a reality for me, because I always validated everybody else's feelings and I boxed up mine. So I didn't care how I felt or what cycle I needed to go through. I worried about the cycle and how everybody else felt, and I put their feelings first. And like I said, I boxed up mine. So I worked in the reverse.
I can align with you a little bit on that because that's what I do a lot of times. DJ.
Yes, claim. No, I think it's part of that is that it means that you have to be honest enough to confront that. And that's the part that we fear most. Like, it's easy for us to redirect things. It's easy for us to display it or brush it off or even blame somebody else. But when we have to be honest enough with ourselves to confront us, that's when it's an issue. And sometimes what that means is acknowledging stuff that I don't even want to acknowledge. So maybe that does mean that yes, I did something wrong. Yes, there was something that I contributed. Yes, there may have been something that I could have done differently. And now I have to deal with that. I have to face that. And I have to let that run its course, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. So, I mean.
So, ironically, that's what he said.
People are okay. People are okay with pointing the blame at.
So my mom, nope. That's on here too. I saw where you was going. You done jumped ahead 3 points. Nope. Slow.
Welcome to my world.
So I have a wall of sticky notes, but one of my sticky notes says we ignore realities because once we recognize it, it makes it real, and once it's real, we have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Amen. I have never seen somebody put that much information on a sticky note. I just want to put
you should tell her to turn the camera and look at that wall.
Well, y'all want the wall?
See?
Oh wow.
Yeah, I need a magnifying glass. He said, when you have a traumatic experience, there's a flood of emotions. Some are good, some are bad, some are high, some are low. It's a trauma and it shocks your system. You have to acknowledge the shock. You have to be gentle with yourself and allow yourself to feel your feelings. Your feelings are there for a reason. They can help you move through difficult experiences, but only if you release and allow them. And a lot of times what DJ was saying is we point the finger at everybody else or the other person, what they did, but don't take into account what we did to contribute to it. So that's part of owning up and acknowledging, allowing yourself to feel your feelings. Don't project on it can't always be everybody else's fault while you had something fail. There was one constant denominator in that equation.
Yeah, I mean that's true. That just comes back to people always thinking, well, why do I keep attracting this type of person? But what are you putting out there?
Yes. And I would offer to you, though, that the other perspective of that, too, is that there are people that prey on those type of situations and there are people that project on top of those things. So, yes, it's me and I have to deal with me and the patterns that I create and the cyclical things that I'm going through. And you still have to acknowledge that sometimes it's not you. Sometimes it's just because I'm in that place and maybe I'm trying to come out of that place. But there's somebody that is attracted to that preys on that feeds you back into that same process.
And then on top of that, life will keep teaching you the same lesson until you learn it.
Ain't that it?
Some people don't learn it. Some people are comfortable right there.
And because there's some people once they're always the victim, it's never their fault.
But that segues into point number 2, which is don't become your feelings. So a lot of times we become so hateful and so disgruntled that we become that which we hate and don't want to be. So it's a situation like with this gentleman. He's been hurt and traumatized to the point where they hurt me, so I have to become that hurt and hurt them how they hurt me. And to him, the way that they hurt him was they ended his world. So now he must end their world. So you have to not become. It's important to express your feelings, but it's also important to stop short of becoming them. If you feel sad, cry, but don't cry continuously. Give yourself a period of time. So it's funny because that's how my grandmother raised me. She says when something happens in your life, pick a number between 1 and 5. Whatever number you pick, based on the trauma, that's how long you got to just cry, scream, yell, temper tantrum, do whatever you need to do. At the end of that time, you need to move on because life moves on.
Yes and no. Yes
Yeah.
and no.
Okay,
I'm a challenge you and Deshaun on that, because what happens then is if somebody tries to do that and they haven't fully healed or they haven't fully developed or they haven't done that, that's a damaged psyche, which that means that's going to further perpetuate any damage that they have already gotten, any traumas that have already been there. It might even trigger them to go into a state of psychosis, depending on where they are. It could lead them
Mhm.
into the major depression. There are all kinds of things that can happen if somebody doesn't adequately deal with their emotions. Now, while I agree, you shouldn't stay in that place, right? And not for an over exhaustive extended period of time. But I think also as professionals and clinicians, it's not our responsibility to tell somebody what is the appropriate amount of time for them to grieve, because everybody's response is totally different.
Mhm.
And we're not even accounting for any other environmental stimuli, any other social stimuli. Like there are all of these other conditional factors that we got to take into consideration when we telling somebody you don't need to do this for this amount of, or this is an appropriate amount of time to do this. That's just like telling somebody, when they lose a relative, the only appropriate amount of time is to do something that's during that time frame. No, because there's a scent that could trigger me to remember that person. There's a touch that may remember. There's clothes that may remember. There's food that remembers that. So there are certain things that are attached to those things. And so to tell that person that they only have a specified amount of time to grieve, that's crazy.
And that's exactly what I was about to say. We have to, that's hard to tell somebody to do that without knowing what would trigger them. For me, I had a lot of triggers, and there was no way I was going to allow myself 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then I'm over it like that. And then I can walk outside of this 2, 3 minutes and there's something that trigger me right there. And I'm back where I started
Mhm.
from. So you got to understand your triggers as well.
I think that's part of the issue, especially in our community. Our parents tell us, stop crying, we'll give you something to cry about. Don't do this, don't show emotion. And I'm a firm believer in generational trauma. And I think
Absolutely.
that's something that has been ingrained in us, because if you showed emotion, 200 years ago, that's your life. So we have to unlearn that whole thought process. Like you're going back to what Doc and DJ said at the beginning. Like if we don't allow people to feel their emotions, someone's eventually going to explode. And it's the same idea. Like there's not a time frame. You can't spend your entire life crying. I know, coming from me, but um, yeah, insider.
Mhm.
But the reality is, you have to let people handle things their own way. My way is not going to work for everybody else, and that's just because that's what your mom and your grandmama taught you, don't mean that that's going to work for me. And we have to get ourselves out of that mentality. Just like when people say, oh, the best way to get over somebody is to get under somebody else. Well, no, that's not how this works. That doesn't solve the problem. That's just another, it's a band-aid for a broken bone. Like you have to let things happen, and you can't just do what other people say, because it's not going to work for you.
Okay, okay, okay. I hear you, Tennessee. Uh, me and DJ don't like being outsiders, so at some point we need to be let in. Moving on. Some people recommend cut off communication with your ex. For me, when I was in a relationship for 7 years, and we had our high highs and our low lows. But when we broke, are you crying? Okay,
Oh.
good. When you turned your head, there was a little glimmer. I was like, "Don't cry," because I have a rule. I don't let people cry to buy
No,
me
I'm
cigarettes.
trying to see if I want to take these glasses off or not, but then I know the glare is gonna get me if I take them off. So I'm doing the thing with that, but it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Um, After 7 years, he was like, we agreed mutually to break up, and we was like, we're gonna be friends, but we stopped talking for like a year. And in that year, we were able to, well, at least I was able to heal to the point where I could at least say hello, because hello wasn't the one. I didn't want to say hello.
So, okay. Cut off communication with ex. I believe in that. I don't talk to any of my exes, none whatsoever. But what about those that feels like they can confide in their ex? They are best friends with their ex, or what about those?
Baby, that's not a relationship. That's a trauma bond.
What?
I couldn't say what I wanted to say because I would get in trouble, so I had to mute my mic. Y'all, what the? We together and you confiding in your ex? We together and you confiding in your ex?
Some people think that's okay. Some people think that that's something that they want to do. So if that's something that they want to do, and their person that they're with at that time, it's like,
I'm sorry.
It's a tricky situation. No, like I told my husband the other day, if I ever, y'all gonna see me on First 48.
This is why I pay my baby.
Mason out of Tennessee to do the investigation, because there's no what y'all need to be conversating about.
In the famous words of Miss Sophia, I said in that jail. I said in that jail, I knew about the rock bill. Because I'm finna think about heaven. I'm finna bash Mr. Head open, think about heaven later.
The only time that I'm remotely okay with communication with exes, and of course this is real tricky in the lesbian community, but if you have shared children, there needs to be open communication. But that is not your best friend. Because if that was your best friend, y'all would still be together.
How you doing?
Person you were supposed to be with, y'all would still be together. Like, there's no need for that. I don't believe in welcoming trouble. I am trouble avoidant, and there's no reason why your ex, who you had an intimate relationship with, should know anything about what's happening in our relationship. And that's always where that goes. Like, well, so and so did this, because all that is an invitation to be like, well, I would never do you like that, because we get real forgetful once we break up, and we forget all those things that person did, because now things aren't easy and you have to put the work in, and it's easy and comfortable there. So that's why we always want to go back to the ex. And I think lesbians have that bad. And I'm like, nope.
No.
Not just lesbians.
Not just lesbians.
No.
Let's be honest. Everybody does that. Because again, no. So your ex and you, like you said, y'all had an intimate relationship. So that was some intertwining of spirits and bodies and stuff. If you telling your ex about me, in my situation, if y'all have mutual kids, y'all have a shared child, I'm a part of that relationship now. Therefore, if y'all having conversations regarding that child, I can be involved in said conversations. There will be no meeting up without me present. As a matter of fact, I'll go drop the child off for you. I got you. But if you telling your ex about me, the Mississippi or the Missouri, which one you want? Because you both can go in. I'll put you in the rivers. How you doing? I ain't going to do First 48. I'm going on Snap. Because I'm going to snap. And I'm going to call, hey, I just killed both of these motherfuckers. One of them's in Mississippi. One of them's in Missouri. You might want to go looking for them. They got about 2 minutes before the sharks get them. We got time for that.
So what about those people that are those partners or spouses, or what, that's okay with the exes still talking to the current partner?
You see what my daughter said? I'll call the police myself. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do you one better. I'm going to call the police before I do it. Hi, 911. I want to report a murder because I'm going to kill him. I'm going to do it.
I think you have to be mature enough to be able to know what the circumstances is. And if that's what it's going to be, you have to have honest conversation about boundaries, right? Because there has to be some level of boundaries. So what is appropriate? What isn't appropriate? What is the thing that's going to be like, no, this is where, you draw the line. for this instance, when you talk about kids, yeah, I think that does make a difference in thing. But again, I still think that there are boundaries. I only need to talk to you about the kid. I don't need to talk to you about what's going on in my household if it's not impacting our child. I don't need to talk to you about who I'm dating. I don't need to talk to you about other things if it's not impacting our child. And I think that's where that healthy communication and establishing boundaries is super important. And that's where it's going to be so integral because you got to know when enough is enough.
I think for me, I think Pat, when it involves the children, past a certain age, you ain't got to contact me no more. Talk straight to them. You don't need to talk to me for what? These are teenagers; they can talk for themselves.
And then don't be asking my kids. So who your daddy got over there? Have your daddy? That ain't none of your business.
So here's my question for you: If
For who?
For DJ, sorry.
Uh-huh.
If my partner or my former partner, we have shared children, my partner's mental state, emotional state directly affects my kids. So at what point, like, where's the boundary there? Because if my ex isn't okay, that means my kids can't be okay. And that's always been my problem because I am a firm believer that exes are exes for a reason and there ain't nothing else there. But when you have my kids or my kids are going to be in your presence, I do need to talk to you. I do need to know that you're okay. I do need, and not like, oh, you're having a good day, but like, I need to check on your mental because if you're going to snap out and hurt my kids, then I'm going to end up in jail anyway. So like, how do you find the balance there?
But I think that's exactly what we're saying. I think we're saying the same thing. It's just like in that instance, I don't need to know what happened or what you're doing or any of those things, except for in this context. Just like you said, like, okay, you all right? Everything cool? You got a stable place? Are they gonna eat? Those kind of things that I need to know before I put my kids in your custody. Those are the conversations that we need to have. But outside of that, no, I don't need to know everything else because that doesn't concern me and it does concern my kids. And I think that's where the thing is, it gets tricky though, when you start to add on those emotional layers and then you got to kind of filter through like, no, I'm not calling you because of this, and all of those kind of conversations. But I mean, I think that's exactly the point is that you have to know and have that balance enough to be able to determine like, is this an appropriate part or is this an appropriate thing that I want to have a conversation with you about? And if so, being very clear. And the only reason I'm having this conversation is because of our kids or because of how this can impact our kids.
I think, and what else? I think, in these relationships, I think just like the boundaries. If you're gonna talk to the ex, then have some boundaries. But I also feel like that if you are the current partner and you're not comfortable with it, don't make it okay for them to talk because you don't want to hurt their feelings. If you're not comfortable with it, just say I'm not comfortable with you talking with your ex. Cut it short. Because I've found and I've seen a lot of relationships to where they are making it okay. You could talk to your ex. You can do no. Oh, I was about to cut. I don't want Ricky to pop up. No, cut it off and let them know that you're not okay. That person is your partner for a reason, and you should be able to voice how you feel and not offend your partner in the process. Because I feel like if you're offending your partner because you saying that they don't want to talk to the ex, then you might need to cut them short and let them go back with that ex.
Anytime I have to be minimized to make someone else comfortable, we got a problem. And that's not acceptable.
I should minimize myself to maximize you. That ain't how this works.
Absolutely not.
So what I was gonna say, because I did raise my hand and Artia just jumped in and took over. I was gonna agree with DJ, but if you're calling me to say, hey, me and Aquanisha are going through it because she acting stupid, my question to you is gonna be, are my kids okay? Do I need to come get my children? I don't need to know what's going on in your relationship. I need to know, do I need to come get my children? If you say, yes, I'm coming to get my children, and me and my children are coming back to my house, but I'm going to let my partner know, hey, the chick done lost it, I'm going to get my children. Come with me. You want to come with me? Come with me. If you don't, I'm going to get my children. I don't need to know the details of your relationship, like DJ said. I just need to know how it's affecting my children.
Right.
Because I know some parents, when it come down to their children, they go to prison.
And will.
With no second thoughts. But we're getting over that. So when we want to get over that, it's another thing they recommend you do is find a support system and or exercise. most people like exercise. Yes, endorphins. When you
Endorphin.
exercise, you release endorphins, and endorphins are will help you with the withdrawal system. Guess how you spell aqua? No, it's Shittea, aquanesthesia, because it's a lot of in that. Um, but exercise help you with withdrawal symptoms. But they say when you
Mhm.
find these people to build your support system, they need to be people who are going to hold you accountable and not yes men or yes women.
That's what I
You
was
don't want
about
somebody
to
who's
say.
going to always say, well, you didn't do nothing wrong. You was right. Even though you slept with their brother, you did nothing wrong. They forced you to. You don't need that. You need someone who's going to hold you accountable and be truthful. Because your support system should support you, not lie to you. DJ, you got something to say? I see it in your eyes.
Yes, I agree and I disagree wholeheartedly. Right. I agree that everybody needs to have a some type of psychosocial support system. Right. It's very healthy. The other part though about that is when you break up or you go through divorce or you go through separation or whatever it is, those same individuals, you have to be discerning enough, and I'm gonna try not to be too clean on this, but you got to be discerning enough to know, is this person really there because they're genuinely concerned, or are they there to get information? And because you are in an emotional
Next.
state, you don't necessarily know the difference between the two at times, and that's why when I have conversations, even thinking about me, my response was not to go out and tell everybody and seek all these people and do all. No, my response was deal with my own stuff first, because then once I'm done being emotional, now I can start being logical, and I can start to look at things and be like, that's why you calling, because you done talk to this person, you done talk to this person, or you fishing for information. And I think that's where it can be a little scary. Is you got to know, like, are those things? And some of those people, truth be told, was waiting for the shoe to drop so they can go on and slide their asses right on in.
Well, so when I say find you a support system, these are people who's been there throughout. These aren't
And
new
I
people.
still say and I said what I said.
And
Those
And
I
what you
same
said
people you
was
gotta watch. You gotta watch.
know I always use the snake scenario. So a snake moves very quietly until it's time for it to pounce onto something. So
Mhm.
I look at people like that, just like DJ just said. I don't hear from you at all. Then all of a
right.
sudden you popping up.
So
What
I'm
you
with
want?
y'all on that.
What?
No,
If
and what
you
I'm saying is it's even those people that have been there, because sometimes
True.
some of those same people have been there to gather information,
Yep.
to gather stuff that they need and get to know, and they waited for their opportunity. So that when the opportunity presented itself, now I can run and go forth and be great. And you gotta be
well,
careful of that too.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
gonna
all I'm
change
saying.
arterial similar because I like snakes. It's like a lion. Lions are quiet and they creep slowly but quiet. Then they pounce. Okay, we give snakes a bad rep as is.
Oh God.
But number six goes back to what Ami was saying. Ultimately, remember why it ended. Because it's so
Mhm.
easy to go back to what's common for us, to go back in that box, our safety net, because we don't want to. God bless you. We don't want to go to. We don't want to step out of our comfort zones, and a lot of times we're with people for comfortable reasons. One thing I know I hate to hear is, well, we stayed together because of the kids. So you're in a damaged situation because of children. You don't think the children see the damage? You don't think the children see the abuse? Because abuse is not always physical. There's
Right.
mental abuse, there's psychological abuse, there's spiritual abuse. I know too many people don't know they getting spiritual beat, slap, pimp,
Or
rape,
the number one, financial.
Yeah.
and financial. So financial abuse, that needs to be a whole show, because a lot of times people they are very clever in how they get in your pockets, and you don't even realize you're paying all the bills, and you're paying for them to go to college and get their degrees, and you sitting here with a damn eighth
Okay.
grade
That
education.
sounds a little personal, really bad. Really bad.
Uh, but you got to remember why it ended, or why you made the decision for it to end, right?
Or did you make the decision for it to end?
That is true.
Mhm.
Because
Had
if
they already made a decision and you just kept pushing to try to keep something that wasn't yours to keep anyway?
okay,
Oh, I want to hold on. I want to get to Rakia's point. Well, I see Chavez said something, but it popped up. But Rakia said, "I don't need my kids to see me miserable in a relationship where I'm not wanted. I would rather show them that we can peacefully co-parent."
and I'm
Absolutely.
100% with that. I would rather my kids see me and my ex as best friends. My mommy and my daddy laugh and joke together, but they live in separate houses. That's fine.
And Shavea says, for me going back to an ex is like a dog who returns to his own vomit. And what I'm not gonna do.
That's disgusting.
But it's the same idea. Like, if it didn't work the first time, people can change, but people rarely change, especially if what they're doing works for them. They're not going to change that. So why would you go back to the same thing that didn't work the first time?
Because they're comfortable.
But again,
Right. It's complacency.
You can move.
But it can be a sense of complacency, but it can also go back to what we said when we started this conversation initially. They're not aware of those things, right? And sometimes the mind is a powerful tool. We can give ourselves into these delusional worlds to really believe that none of these things are true, that none of these things have occurred, that none of those, instances or fractions or whatever that people have said or highlighted or pointed to your attention, we can really dilute ourselves to believe that none of those things happen, and so that there's absolutely nothing wrong with me. And so I'm in this cyclical pattern of doing things not because it's like I don't know, but because like really in my mind I'm doing the right thing.
We gaslight ourselves.
I think people out here acting like Build-A-Bear. So what they're not getting at home, they realize, oh, my ex was giving me that. So let me communicate with them because this is what they were giving me. And so my current partner is giving me this. So I got these two people. Build-A-Bear. Build your wife.
Come on, Stepford wives.
Yes.
But I agree with you. A lot of times it's like, my ex was good, but she didn't know how to cook. Well, this person know how to cook, so I'm going to jump over here. But this person know how to clean. Well, my ex knew how to clean. I can cook, so I'm going to run back to my ex. People got to understand, and my grandmother used to say it all the time, in this generation, if we don't want to fit something, we'll just rather replace it. And a lot of times, some things don't need to be replaced. It can be fixed, but a lot of things that are completely damaged, like if you take your iPhone and you shatter your iPhone, no, better yet, your Apple Watch, because I broke my Apple Watch. If you shatter your Apple Watch and you take it to get repaired, they tell you, you come out cheaper just buying a new watch, right? Sometimes you come out better letting them go. Or what was the analogy? I preached it one time, not go to church. But when you take a rope and you have someone, you and that person are together, right? You're joined, right? So it's like a rope tying your hands together. But that person falls off of the ledge, right? Because they're not keeping their part. But the rope starts cutting you off at your wrist. You're saving them, but what are you really doing to your hand? Because your hand starts to turn purple and your hand is dying, which then could turn to gangrene, which could then set in and infect your arm, which then infects your body if it's not, or you have to amputate your arm. Now you've lost a drastic part of yourself because you're trying to save somebody who didn't want to be saved. The songwriter said, don't save her. She don't want to be saved.
My favorite thing is when people love to say, oh, I've invested so much, either time or money or emotional or whatever. Baby, that's the price you pay for your peace. Letting go of that is the price you pay for your peace. Whatever you put in, you can't get back. You can't get it back.
It's like the stock market. If you invest in stock, one day Ethereum went up to $4,500. I thought I was rich. That mug done dropped back down to 32. It's a roller coaster. You don't always get a return on your investment. But sometimes you gotta know when to hold them and when to fold them. All right, so let's keep going. We got a couple of more to go, and then we're gonna talk about science that tells you you really haven't gotten over your ex or the last person you was with. Ew. Number 7, take care of yourself. A lot of times, my sister does something now that I thought was real weird until I started doing it. She was like, "I'm single. I take myself on a date. I sit at the table, put my phone down, eat. I bring a book with me and read a book. She's like, I just enjoy me." We don't do that anymore. Like, I know I love to get manicures and pedicures. I say handicures and feeticures because I used to not be able to tell the difference between the two. But I love to go get those, and people be like, "But you're a boy, and this is what I like to do." So I'm gonna do what I like to do. I like to go sit by the river or sit by moving bodies of water and write. Like, I was with somebody. Y'all know the little scooters that you can ride through the city? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Like the lime and the chime and them things. I've always wanted to ride them. But my ex was like, "That's for kids. That's childish." And so I never did it. The moment we broke up, the first thing I did was went to the park and was zooming through the park like a 2-year-old, having the time of my life. And I had frat brothers who went with me. I got a little distracted and ran into a bush, but it was all good because I got to do something that I wanted to do. So, what are some things you guys like to do to take care of yourselves?
I read. I will sit in my car and listen to an audible book or read one of the 15 physical books that just float around in the back of my car. I read, and that's my time with me. Nobody bothers me. Nobody asks me any questions. And that's my time to just recenter with myself, because I put so much of me into everybody else that if I don't, I'll lose myself again. And we can't have that.
DJ Arteria, what do you guys like to do?
Well, I like the nail shop.
Pretty.
Sure.
And I journal.
DJ?
Y'all know I get my hair cut every week faithfully at 10 o'clock. It is a standing appointment. It is without fail, and I got to post my weekly picture. But I also do, I write poetry and I play video games.
Rakia says she goes to beer yoga. What is beer yoga?
Or bingo.
That was called the Anheuser-Busch. Y'all know what I found? So
beer yoga?
I used to love to read. Reading was like, when I was a kid, they were like, I'm taking your TV. Fine, I'm going to go read a book. Like, shit, you did that for me. I stopped reading, and then someone said we was going to read a book. And so I was behind, so I sat down and went through. When I tell y'all, I was so excited to read because my imagination started coming back. And I'm a published author, so I have a book out there. You can get my book, y'all. It's called Disappointed. When you thought you was disappointed, God said, did not say appointed. Hashtag get the book. And it's supposed to be another one called Disappointment. And I got writer's block. And after reading, when I tell y'all, I've been like Kermit the Frog, like, ooh, that's gonna be good. Ooh, I like that. So I'm back writing. So my goal is to have the book finished, and I'm gonna publish it on my godson's birthday. That's gonna be my birthday gift to him. So, yeah. But I'm getting back to my passion for writing. I found some of the poems I wrote when I was little, and I was like, wow. Like, come through, Langston Hughes. Like, wow. Channel Nikki Giovanni. Like, yeah. Okay, so take care of yourself. Well, another one says, don't let people tell you how long you need to heal.
Didn't I say that already? We didn't hash that part out.
I just gave up on going in order because y'all just be all over the place. So if I repeat myself, it's y'all's fault.
I'm just saying we ain't got to hash. I think we didn't hash that out. We can move past that. What's the next one?
I'm writing up the system and the processes department. Don't internalize the breakup.
I'm looking at the clock.
We got time. Oh yeah. Don't internalize the breakup. Don't start saying I'm not good enough because I couldn't keep that person, or I'm not cute enough, or I'm not this enough. Baby, love the skin you in.
That's easier said than done.
What'd you say?
That's easier said than done for some people.
I agree, but this is where that support system comes in, and like transparency moment. I never thought I was attractive. Never thought I was attractive. Until I get around people and now they're like, oh, you fine. This person's trying to get with you that. And I was like, what do they see? Because I don't see it. But that's why I have a support system that constantly reminds me, like, nigga, you the bee's knees. Like, you the chicken snuggles. Like, you are it. You a whole meal in a bag of, what's it? You all that and a bag of chips, you know? You a 5-course meal with the fanciest of wines. Like, you got to get that support system to help you see the beauty in you, because sometimes it is hard.
But you got to figure, you got to be the person to know that. So no matter how many times somebody tells you that, and that's what we get, personality disorders from. That's what we get identity crisis from. That's what we get, issues of self-esteem from. If you don't internalize that, it doesn't matter how many times people have told you that. It doesn't matter how many times people say the same things to you. It's going to be the same thing.
I stayed in a abusive relationship after my partner went to jail and got out because they told me, and I believed that no one else was going to want me. I was too ugly. I was too fat. I thought I was better. Like all of these negative things. They went to jail for domestic assault against me, got out of jail, and I welcomed them back home because I had internalized the idea that this was the best I could do. And even now, like 15 years later, I still go through this. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not this enough. I'm too that. I'm too whatever. And that voice is hard to silence. And I've of course done therapy. I have a supportive group of people. I have people who tell me every day I'm gorgeous, and it doesn't change the fact that all I hear and all I see when I look in the mirror is someone who's not enough.
And I can relate to that on some level, right? Because as I've talked about before, you know, I acquired HIV when I was 19. And I acquired it from somebody that I was in a relationship with. And that's what I was saying about like my whole thing and starting this conversation was a little bit different. And so for the first couple of months leading up until like the first year, I really struggled with that. Like, is anybody gonna love me again? How am I gonna constantly keep having this conversation with people about I have this life altering condition? What does that mean about people? What are people gonna think about me now that I have this? And I even went through that phase of having to phase people out for doing shit like, saying things on the slide. I'm sorry, Rakia, but doing things on the slide, or saying that I couldn't use the same dishes, or stuff like that. And it was very early in the thing. So, but anyway, I say all of that to say, it was a very challenging process to to build my own cognition enough to say, no, I'm better than that. And that's why now, I do the work that I do, teaching other people to do those same things, but also, reframing that, because I don't live HIV. I don't live with HIV. HIV lives with me. And I say that intentionally because I still have a life to live. This is just a small facet of my lived experience.
And people that's in those type of relationships, like you got to be careful. You got to know who you are, and stop allowing these people to sugarcoat or tell you, oh, you're cute. They tell you what you want to hear so they can continue to do what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it made me think about something.
Like,
and the last point is self-evaluate, identify, and start to eliminate unhealthy behaviors. Arteria, what was that face for?
Because people are not going to do that. Some people are not going to do that because they're comfortable with where they are. They're comfortable.
Some of y'all need a push or a kick.
I mean, it's just it's the fact that it's hard and it's work, and it's to your point. It's that it takes work, and again, in that work, it takes me really turning the mirror on me for a change, and me seeing the things that I'm did, or where I'm flawed, or where I'm broken, or where I have room or opportunity to do better, or improve, or change some things, or even do something different to make me happy. Right, which means again, I got to acknowledge that these other things don't make me happy, but that's the hard part, is that it requires us to do the work.
And we don't want to do the work.
Just for me being transparent, like the damaged heart thing, it was all about relationships, true, but my damaged heart had nothing to do with the relationship. My damaged heart came from my mother. And so it took me 36 years to realize that I was still damaged by what my childhood and what she did. 36 years, I'm 36. Mm-hmm. And it took me going into therapy and counseling and stuff this year to realize I got to do what's best for me, because not only am I living for me now, I got 3 children that watch me. And so my counselor, she had been saying for a long time, talk to her, tell her how you feel. And I was like, no, because I'm okay with where I'm at. I'm comfortable with right here. I'm comfortable not sleeping at night. I'm comfortable having a crying burst. I'm comfortable. But I got to the point to where I got tired, and I had a conversation with her. And after I had that conversation is when I realized that I'm living my life for me now. And so now I'm in this 21 days of selfishness. I'm acknowledging me right now. I'm on day 11 or 12. But we got to step outside of our boundaries right now and just realize that we can't keep living for everybody else. We got to live for ourselves at this point. It's too much happening.
It requires a level of accountability most people aren't willing to give because they don't have a personality. They have a trauma response. And if you give that up, if you walk away from that, you don't know who you are, especially like I've had the same issue. My mama I got mommy issues. I own it. I accept it. But like I don't know who I am outside of me trying to be who she wanted me to be. So for me to accept that and to take accountability for that means I have to look at everything I've ever done, ever said, the plans, my dreams. Same thing happens in relationships. I get lost in it and I'm like, what does I me want? What do I want this to be? And to own that is one, difficult, and two, it's terrifying. It's terrifying to do that. And if you're not ready for that and you don't have that support system and you haven't established healthy boundaries, it's very easy to fall right back into where you were before.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Well,
God I
that's
got
what
the support
I guess
system.
I would say. I thank God that I've gotten to the point now, recently, honestly, I would say in the last 2 years, where I only aim to please one person in my life. And that's the bald head chicken nugget boy that I walk past every day in the mirror. That's who I look to please. I used to say I wanted to have 6-pack muscular build because that's what everyone found attractive. Until I start walking by the mirror now, and I'm like, the things I want to do to you. I started flirting with myself because it helped me to build my confidence in that I start to see things in myself that I didn't see. Because for so long, I want to live the life that everybody else told me to live. I want to do what everybody else. I was the person who wanted to please everybody in my world. I want to make sure everybody was taken care of. If that means my lights off so that you can have lights to eat, I'm gonna make sure you have lights. If that means I ain't got no food but you got food, I'll eat air sandwiches. That was me.
Not
But
an
now
air
I'm at the point where I don't give a frick no more. Like my grandma used to always say, baby, God gave you 2 lips and me 2 butt cheeks. You put 2 and 2 together and tell me what you get. But she didn't say but, she said 2 ass cheeks. You put 2 and 2 together. Tell me what you get. And for the longest, I didn't know what that meant because I was like, 2 and 2, you get 4. No, she telling you to kiss her. DJ, don't laugh at me. I don't like you know. But we have to get to the point where we start validating yourself. The songwriter said, encourage yourself. DJ, give me something.
I'm gonna go through these comments because they've been going back. We done the loop back.
I
Circle
know
back a
Rakia
little
said
bit.
not Rakia, Chavez said in famous words of RuPaul Charles, if you don't love yourself, how the hell you gonna love someone else? Can I get amen?
Well, I want to loop back even further where Chavez says people struggle with serial monogamy, jumping from relationship to relationship, person to person because they can't handle being alone. And then her next comment was that all of this is so crazy to her. She just posted that if your habits aren't producing any fruit or change for your life, then do something different. Everybody wants healing, but doesn't want to commit to the process. You must do the work.
Arteria preached it one Sunday. People just want a microwave blessing. Put in the microwave, press 1 minute, and when you put your hot pocket in the microwave and put it on 2 minutes, when it come out, the outside is nice, crispy, and hot, but the inside is still ice cold.
It's frozen.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're getting ready to wrap up. Start pulling this thing. Some signs that tell you have not fully moved on. Some signs. These are not 100 signs. These are not definitive signs. They're some signs, and y'all can chime in. When you think of the person more often than not, they're constantly on your mind. Would y'all agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep rolling.
When you keep bringing up the memories, especially the happy, sweet ones. When you're constantly telling your new person about your old person.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, that struck a nerve a little bit right there.
Yes, Lord.
When she said, "Oh, Jesus," I said, "Oh, okay."
I will say until the day I die, the present me can never compete with the ghost of the past because we like to make everything so much prettier, and it was this and it was that. So why are you here? I'm not in competition. That was a nerve.
When you still have questions and resignations about the past, you wonder what could have been or why didn't it turn out the way you wanted it to. When you assign blame for the way things turned out and it's never you a part of it. I think I typed that the wrong way. And you're never a part of it is what I meant to type. Okay, got it. When you keep trying to improve yourself because you feel you're not good enough from what they said. When you have a desire to spite him or her as a way of making him or her regret for whatever they did wrong to you. When you often bring up the person in general conversations, even if there's no relation to them. When you have a desire or urge to contact them, even though you previously told yourself you didn't want to. Hey, see, T said it's the best thing I could do was walk away because I realized I would never get what I needed. Therapy helped me move on, and I love loving me. Amen. And another one is when you find yourself living out the same looping patterns, on again, off again, on again, off again. You're taking breaks, or you just keep them on the back burner. Those are a couple of signs that you haven't moved on from your ex. One of them is when you find yourself competing with them. Do y'all agree with all those?
Not all of them, most of them. Some of them, I think those are real personal, but most of those I feel are true.
System and processes.
Yeah, it's a hit or miss.
DJ's gonna become my new therapist.
People need to stop Facebook stalking their exes to try to figure out what they're doing, what they got going on, when they gonna do it, why they do that with this person, but they couldn't do it with. Go ahead.
Can we expand that and say social media stalking? Because they stalk them on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Kit Kat, Snicker Bar, all of that. Or you stalk them through other people because they block you. So you ask your mutual friends what they got going on. I like that I have that much control over somebody's life that's not that important to me.
That's that support system.
Yeah.
Because if you can go to that support system and get some tabs on what your ex got going on, them the ones that you need to be careful around.
Amen. Because if you come to me and say, do you know what my ex doing living? Well, who they living with? I guess themselves. Shit, I don't live with them. Mind the business that pay you. All right, let's get to final thoughts so we can wrap up. Amit, as our guest, you get to go first. What's your final thoughts on Broken Hearted?
Take time to figure out what happened, where you are, and where you want to be, because otherwise none of this matters. Because if you don't know what you want, if you can't name what will make you happy, including yourself, then there's no point. You're just going to keep doing the same thing.
DJ.
You sure you want me to go?
Arteria.
My final thought is it's okay to be alone. Stop jumping from relationship to relationship thinking that you're going to find what you thought you needed in the next person. Take some time for yourself, because if you jumping from a relationship, that means you need some deeper help.
Okay. DJ.
So my final thoughts is I'm gonna do something a little off kilter, right? And I'm gonna say that sometimes some things need to be broken. Everything is not meant to stay intact. Sometimes you got to break things before you really find the value in them, and sometimes you have to be able to take those pieces to determine those pieces of what's good, those pieces of what's bad, those pieces of what's rejected. You got to be able to reclaim those things so that you could build something new. And sometimes the new version of what the old pieces brought together is so much better and so much prettier and so much brighter than the original thing that you're going to be glad that it got broken in the first place.
Amen.
Gotta preach.
Okay. No, because I wanted to look this up. So it's called kintsugi. It's a Japanese art where you take glass and you break it and then you make a beautiful picture. Sometimes we have to be broken to become beautiful.
Oh,
Just
now you gonna
because
steal my
somebody doesn't
thought?
see you as being beautiful, broken, you be beautiful, you still can be beautiful. Or let me give it to you this way: broken crayon still color. You see what I'm saying? So you're still beautiful. Be you. Love you. Love the skin you're in. Love the gap between your teeth. Love the way you speak. Love that. Love that you're not knee, pigeon toe, cross-eyed, buck teeth, two strings of hair on your head. Love them. Love everything about you because you was made beautiful. You was made wonderful, and you one of a kind. And just know that everybody ain't meant to be with you, baby. You know, when you go up the mountain, you got the Bible says when Abraham and Isaac went up the mountain, he was told to leave the asses behind. That's what the King James Bible say. Read the Bible. It says he was told to leave the asses behind. When you go up in life, leave the asses behind. All right. Well, y'all, thank y'all for joining us for another episode. So hey fam, guess what? No Clue is taking a holiday break, y'all. We got Christmas next week, New Year's the following week, so we won't be back until January 4th. That's 8. With January 4th, we'll see you guys in the new year.
But we're coming back with bangers.
And let me tell y'all, so the second half of this season, conversations are getting deeper. Conversations are going to be more fun. We're doing what you guys love to talk about. We're going to
I
talk
don't
about
promise that. When it's my turn, I ain't gonna tell y'all that lie. I'm not making that promise.
Me and Arteria gonna make it a little lighter for y'all. You know, our system and processes department go deep. Like when I say he go deep, nope, I take that back because I know what Terry talking about. Y'all,
That's why I said we're not gonna even tell that lie. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be lit.
It's gonna be good. But
We coming with it, but I'm not gonna tell y'all that lie. It's not gonna all be fun. We coming real.
We're gonna do what we do. Oh, that's what I meant to tell you guys. So someone asked me, they was like, why do y'all talk about what y'all talk about? Like, we don't talk about that. That's quiet. That's the point of this show. This show is where we're gonna talk about things that we swept under the rug because we need to talk about those things.
Bringing it to the surface.
All right. We're dusting the shelves. We're bringing everything out the attic. We're bringing it out the basement. We're putting everything on display for the world to see. We need to talk about those things.
Bringing it to the surface. Echo.
Whoa.
On this show, we are transparent. We're honest. We have no clue what's going on in life, but one thing we're going to do is figure it out together. So we will see you guys on January 4th. If you have show ideas,
we will have our May back. We thank you.
I got that part. But thank you. I mean, yes, because I like you.
You said, wait a minute.
you and DJ, hold up. No, you, DJ, and Arteria was triple teaming me today, but that's why I got something for y'all next year, baby. I'm going to have my team with me. Them apples. I'm going to start recruiting. Let me see if Barack Obama's available. Oh, you know I get my boy on y'all. I get Nas on y'all.
You're not going to talk about that?
Talk about what?
Didn't you get contacted?
Yeah, y'all. So, bam. I sent Lil Nas' campaign, his group, an email to join my fraternity, and they responded back to me. He's not gonna join, but it's like when the Clark sisters acknowledge me.
Right.
But guys, we're coming back stronger than ever next year. If you have some show topics, some show ideas, email us nocluetheshow@gmail.com. Give us feedback on, how much you like the show. If you don't like the show, what you do like, what you don't like. Email us nocluetheshow@gmail.com. To our virtual grandparents, happy holidays. We hope you guys are gonna have a warm Christmas. We have virtual grandparents who sends us in notes about the show. They are so adorablistically cute. We've never seen them, but they're so cute. Guys, contact us if you want to get on the show. You want to be a guest host for something. Send us an email. Let us know, hey, I'm interested in co-hosting with you guys. I want to do a show about da-da-da-da-da. Break it down. nocluetheshow@gmail.com. Until then, remember this, guys. What you say?
Want to broadcast your business.
Right. If you want a commercial on our show, email us nocluetheshow@gmail.com. That's NOCLUETHESHOW@gmail.com. We'll be back in touch with you.
Or if you just want to be a blessing to the show so we can do bigger, better, broader, send us an email.
Or hit us up on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, MySpace, YouTube,
Instagram.
Twitch. Did you say shrimp?
Wow, you hungry?
Instagram.
He
Oh,
hungry.
Instagram. I is. But hit us up, guys. We love you guys so much. And remember this: just when you thought you had life figured out, you realize you have what?
No.
Clue.
Hi, guys. Peace. Bye.